It's time for Measure Twice.
Welcome to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors and Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential, and you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply, everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with the showroom now open in Granger, next to C. Kramer Interiors, and Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. Full-on winter. It's the dry season here. Even though snow's wet, it's still dry. It's kind of funny that it's just this time of year, everything just kind of dries out. And it's, to me, it points out like how seasonally affected our homes are, because they deal with this swing back and forth. If you were in Florida, it would just be damp all the time, which is terrible. And
yes,
it really is. And if you were in Phoenix, they'd be dry all the time. And they both have their disadvantages. I think I would take dry all the time over damp all the time, because that's just not good. Like you run into water damage. It's right. I mean, Joel, that's something that's relatively common for you, right? Like some sort of rot from water that's behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's not uncommon to find some kind of water that had gotten that there was some sort of intrusion, especially in bathroom remodels. Right.
Chris was yawning. I thought he was going to talk. I was like, man, he's like, you guys are boring. No, I'm just kidding. But that's one of the things that we talk about all the time. When you do like a bid or an estimate on a job, you haven't pulled back the balls yet. Like you haven't dug in yet, and sometimes there's things hidden that you just can't see. Even with a camera, you wouldn't be able to tell.
No, you wouldn't be able to tell that.
Because that's, somebody had told me, I was having this discussion, like, yeah, when if you get a bid from a contractor, if there's some unknowns that are just going to happen. That's not, the contractor's not waking up in the morning trying to delay the job by having something else come up. These things happen. And she was like, well, don't they just have a camera that they can look?
Stick it in the wall?
Yeah. I guess you could.
It still wouldn't tell you everything.
No, you really can't tell unless you are looking at it in the open, right?
And maybe it can't. What if the camera misses it? Because it's not high enough or low enough.
Well, yeah, and you don't know where to look.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You'd have to be perfect to. Now, I could see using a camera if you were unsure about a pipe or something being there.
Oh yeah, we'll have that done.
Right. What were you going to say, Chris? Sorry.
Unless you're Superman, have X-ray vision.
Yeah.
Well, Superman
see into the walls.
You know what? His earning potential. He doesn't do a lot of construction.
No.
He just he's saving the world.
Destruction.
Yeah, he's a good demo guy.
Yes, hey.
Yeah, very good demo guy. Yeah. That's Superman. Batman's the guy you want building the place. Well, grumpy.
You think Joel's grumpy?
Yeah, that's what I was hearing too. That's what I was hearing too.
Yeah, that's what. Are you saying contractors
I can't confirm or deny that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I meant like you want the guy, like if we're talking about superheroes being builders, Superman is your demolition person, maybe an excavator. You want Batman as your project manager. He's Bruce Wayne. He gets stuff done.
Yeah.
Sure, he's a little grumpy.
You would be too if you never slept.
That's true. He's up all night and all day. Jeez. Anyway, I digress. Water, like damp, I think trumps dry is as far as it goes with like
issues.
When you say, Chris, I mean, it's not good for any.
Mold doesn't grow in dry.
Right. And rot, is rot always mold?
You could dry rot.
You could dry rot. You really can, though. I mean, that's an actual thing.
But it usually starts after something got wet.
Right,
yeah.
It dries, and then that's the drying process kills it. But I'm saying, is rot always mold?
No.
Sometimes it's just
rot.
Yeah, just the materials breaking down, right?
Yeah, I mean, mold will oftentimes find rot.
Right, and love it because it's got lots of nooks and crannies. Why is it then you see a 100-year-old home and it's pristine, and then you see some homes that are 30 years old, and it's like, how
Quality of material.
Do you also think that newer homes are more airtight, whereas a 100-year-old home is not? So there's more breathing going on in an older house than there is in a new house?
They
that would make a difference for sure.
Because now the homes are so airtight, I would think like moisture and things that would get caught
and just stay
versus an older home where it's not as insulated as well. There's more, I don't know want to say drafts, but there's more air. Things can dry out more easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the bathrooms that is a real issue. Like our bathrooms are airtight. That fan that you have going in the bathroom is really important.
Well, now it's 24. I think it's 24. They run 24/7 just for air movement, just to circulate air
in a bathroom,
in the house,
in the whole house.
I think it's code now,
like an air exchanger.
Yeah.
Really? Is that
because it's so airtight? The home is so airtight that it needs the circulation.
So you're saying that fan runs
24/7.
And when did that start, do you reckon?
That hasn't been very long.
No, it's maybe a couple years.
Really? So if you're in a home that's more than a couple years, should you have that installed?
No, not yet. Because as far as how airtight the houses have gotten on a new build, you have to deal with making sure you're getting fresh air in.
Right.
A house has to breathe.
Yeah.
Structure has to breathe.
So when you insulate your attic, you want to make sure that your soffits aren't covered. And that does shift. It's not a bad idea to kind of eyeball them every so often, right? I mean, you don't have to do it every month, but like...
Well, if it's done appropriately, it won't move.
It won't?
No, unless you're climbing around up there.
Well, I mean, it's the attic. It's fun to be in.
Yeah.
But so the reason why I'm saying this, she's a house ago, I think. We had straight line winds come through the neighborhood, and it adjusted the insulation.
Oh, from blowing in through the
Well, that's not. I mean, it just wasn't
done right.
Done right.
Yeah, I get it. Totally get it. How do they stop that though? Do they cover? There's like a piece of styrofoam or something that goes over your soffit.
It goes up against the sheeting of your roof, and then there's typically like a bat insulation that gets stuffed into the rest of it. And it's tight. That's tight enough. It's not going anywhere, even with...
Right. And in my
you have
case,
to have a tornado, and in that case, everything's...
Well, it's gone anyway. There's pieces of your insulation in Iowa. The reason why mine didn't is that they didn't use batting. It was all cellulose to the, and it was just blew around. Yeah, it just blew around. And the way they fixed it in my house is they put batting in, and then they actually put those, I don't know what they're called, tubes. I don't know.
We just call them chutes.
Chutes, like an air chute. Yep. And they put a really light screen just tacked it over the soffits because I was a little overkill at that point.
The amount of airflow that you were getting?
Yeah. It was a little crazy. But if you don't have that airflow, by the way, in the summer, your house will swelter.
Well, it's not good for your roof.
No. The airflow for your roof is super. I mean, even if you have a steel roof, it's still wood under it. That is.
Yeah, your everything. It needs to be able to breathe and move with the seasons. Because even when wood is cut and made into boards, it's still a living thing because it reacts it reacts to the weather.
Right.
It moves. It can shift a little bit. In our last house, I mean, there would be times where I'd hear like lumber checking.
What does that mean? What is that? What do you mean check?
Popping.
Really loud pop sound.
Oh, really?
Typically, that would happen in the winter.
Yeah, my other house used to do that too.
And that's not
sounds like a crack.
Yeah. You're like, oh, is something going to
They're
fall?
like, yo, your house is settling. Is that what they're saying? Like,
That's not settling.
No, that's
It's
just
just the movement of the wood because it's shrinking and moving a little enough where
it. Yeah,
and that's normal.
yeah.
It's not harmful.
oh, what you don't know, what you don't see,
Just don't look.
out of sight, out of mind.
That's right. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. That's like, come on, okay. Is it normal?
Scares the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about because I want to say as a child, like, my house settled a lot. Like, a lot of sounds and, like that. But it
Was
was
it
an
your
old
deck?
home.
Do you think, or was it?
It was in the attic.
Was it?
You would just hear it. I think one of the things that we overlook, and we're kind of running out of time, I'll talk about this in the next segment, but it's almost like the more you use your house, the better.
Oh yeah.
Like it's, when we come back, let's talk about that for a little bit. This is Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling and Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential. You're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. And we're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with a showroom now open in Granger right next to C. Kramer Interiors and Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. We're kind of talking about what's going on in your house as the seasons go, as it ages, as it gets older. What's going on there? And we're talking about how, well, damp is probably worse than dry, but we get both here in this climate.
Oh yeah.
And airflow is kind of important. And to that end, actually living in your house is good for your house.
Definitely.
Why is that, Chris?
Because you're maintaining it as you're living in it, and you're catching things and fixing it as you're living in it, as opposed to it sitting empty. And that's the worst thing you can do to a house, is let it sit empty.
Right. It does not take long for a house that's empty to start to
Have problems?
Yeah, it's really kind of amazing. It really, even if you go on vacation for a week, you come back and your home's like groans a little. It's like, wow, this needed some movement in there.
It needs movement. It needs, like right now we're in the winter season, and so you need, we talked about moisture earlier, but you want to add moisture to your home now.
Yeah.
Because it's so dry. So you want a humidifier or
Do something
to put that moisture back in your home, because you're probably
Or have a
experiencing.
bunch of kids that are showering all the time.
Yeah.
That works.
That does it.
It does work.
Yeah.
Because you're probably noticing, maybe, or if you have solid hardwood floors, that there's more gaps than there was earlier, and because of the expansion and contraction and
Right.
cracks in your some separation, maybe in some of your trim because of the dryness. So the adding humidity in the winter is important because it prevents some of those things from happening.
So if you see a gap in trim, that's not going to heal itself. It won't
No.
go back.
Not 100%.
Right.
It'll move a little. So how do you fix that?
Good caulk.
Yeah. That was like an Amish saying I learned years ago. Do your best and caulk the rest.
That's kind of my philosophy.
I don't like that.
No, when you're no. So really, the only if you're actually going to fix it, you got to take the piece of trim off and get a longer piece of trim.
No, they can. There's caulks that are designed now to expand and contract. Because sometimes that's all it needs is a caulk line to repair.
A lot of time, because where you're going to see that is because of the way wood expands and contracts. I think we've talked about this before. It's across the grain. Well, a length of trim, the grain is not the length. It's just the height of your trim.
Okay.
So where you're going to see that most of the time is on the wall rather than where the trim, like if you have to overlap the trim.
Oh, see, I'm thinking it's where they meet.
No. It's actually like a separate. If it's a crown molding, it's a separation from the ceiling to the crown, because that wood has shrunk and it creates a line.
Right.
So it's not lengthways. It's really
And
big.
I've seen them, especially in new construction, when if the house was built during the spring, summer, and those trims were added, and then they go through their first winter. That's when you'll see. But it's an easy. Usually, then they'll just kind of do a caulk line and there are caulks that are that'll expand and contract, so it eliminates the crack.
Yeah, and that's
very common.
Yeah, that's common, and that's the appropriate way to address it.
So some people are listening. They're going to look at their crown molding now, and if you see that, that's probably what happened. Now, is that
it's not defective. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a normal type of scenario in this climate.
And is that just crown molding? But it could be
base,
casing. I mean, any trim. You could see that.
If it's wood, it's going to move. Typically,
because it does. And we're talking about like the things that happen to your house as it gets older through the seasons. And wood is movement. The idea is that your house needs to breathe. Either you have to use a respirator, which is a fan that runs all the time, or you need to have some of those imperfections in the house to let it breathe. You don't necessarily want a hermetically sealed living environment.
No, it's not a coffin.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like and sometimes that means cracking a window every now and then, like to let new air into the house.
I used to do that in my old house because it was sealed so tightly that if you got a break in the weather and during the winter, you open the windows to get some fresh air in, just to circulate fresh get the old out.
When it's amazing what a difference that makes in just the feel of your home.
And just the smell, the feel. I mean, it brings in a freshness.
It's like re-oxygenating your house. I don't know how else to put it. And I was just reading last night, and I realized I have this in my house. Your house could be. This is an opinion piece. This is a blog, not right. But your house could be a little too airtight if you open one door somewhere else and a door across the house closes or shakes. And it's not because you slammed it. It's like literally just opening
the air
because it's pulling the air.
Yeah, if you have that going on, that is an indication that your house is super airtight. And it's great if you're trying to conserve energy. It's not so great for lots of other things.
Right.
Rob wonders why he's always sleepy when he's at home.
Yeah, so that I get just enough carbon monoxide to get a good night's sleep.
I will never have that problem in my house. Never.
And he can't even open his windows.
That's true.
No need.
Don't need to.
Yeah.
But so in that case, for my house, as an example, I don't mean to make this about me, but
yes, you do.
Yeah.
Sure. Right. But it's a new house. It's super airtight.
Yeah.
I have to open a window every now and then.
Yeah.
But it's great for your energy bills.
I'm not kidding. My house is like amazingly efficient.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of making them so airtight. Is for energy efficiency.
But we have to.
But then you have to run a fan all the time, which eats up energy.
Right.
It's true.
Right. Well, I'm wondering if I even have a fan that's running.
You
all the
don't.
time.
If it's moving, because the point of that is to if you have the appropriate exchanger, it's going to like regulate that.
Right.
Well, even just opening and closing your doors in and out of the house helps.
Exactly.
With air movement.
That's where I was going to go. It's like one of the things that I've noticed a difference if my garage door is open. My garage door, the garage door, until the outside is open. When I open the door to the garage, it's like, whoosh,
And it's a breath of fresh air.
It really is. It really is. But it's funny, but it totally makes a difference. But it's not a bad thing. It's just like it's just something you have to be mindful of.
Yeah.
What about if you see condensate, and I don't see this isn't about me, but if you see condensation, because I don't want anybody to think, like on your windows at home.
Then you get then you have a lot of
There's some issues
Yeah.
with your windows.
Or your humidity level is too high.
If you see condensation, you've put too much humidity inside. Now it's showing up.
Turn off that pan of water on the stove.
I do that.
Yeah,
Boil water.
I like it.
Yeah, it's like
that makes it seem fresher too.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Because pretty much every furnace has a humidifier, and it's going to put a certain amount of humidity into the air.
Right.
It's just different.
Right. And if you have condensation on your windows, you might have too much going into the humidifier.
Probably
you might have to
there.
adjust it back a little bit.
Yeah.
'Cause you don't really want, because that'll just cause your window, if they're wood windows, that'll just cause that to break down over time.
Right. And if it's showing up at your windows, it could be other places you can't see, like behind the wall.
Oh yeah.
So just kind of want to dial that down, get the proper humidity level.
Because it could happen. But these are all things that modern technology is trying to like take care of one at a time. It's like nothing's perfected yet. But if you had like floor heating or wall heating, right?
Wall heating?
Well, I don't know about wall heating. Maybe I just made that up. But wouldn't that be cool?
Well, if you have radiant heat, that's the best type of heat you can
Radiant.
have.
And you say that with conviction. Why is that so good?
Because it's not blowing hot air. They're using water to heat, and so it doesn't dry out like a gas forced
Well, and
air.
you also won't get dust being blown around.
Right. Yeah.
Can you get radiant heat if you have a basement?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's systems for that.
You
For
just have-
like your main floor or even for your second floor. There are systems. Now, then you have to be careful with the type of flooring that you're putting
Right.
in. Because the 3/4 inch hardwood floor will...
Well, let's talk about, we're out of time, but I think that's an important topic. Let's talk about that radiant heat situation when we come back. This is Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice and Rob Perugini, along with Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors and Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential. And you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. It's not a comedy show, but we do laugh here.
We're just enjoying life here.
It is. It's just joyous. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops with the showroom now open in Granger. Next to C. Kramer Interiors. And Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. Visit Hoosier Hardwood Floors at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. And the reason why we're laughing is because my partners love to continue the show after we go to break. And you just said something that was really important while we were on break about.
But we didn't finish our last discussion about the floor.
Are you going to forget what you just said?
I remember the
All right, promise.
I already forgot. So
Yeah, it's already moved on. Chris is already. This is like 51st dates for Chris. It's like after every break, we just start over again. He's like, "Oh, when did you guys get here?" No, we were talking about radiant heat.
Yeah,
and the whole topic is it's winter and your house is going through lots of things. It's bombarded with the elements, but also whether it's the dry season, wet season, windy season, all of those things. And we were talking about how airtight your house is and different forms of heat.
Yeah.
So we got to radiant heat, and Chris is like, that's the best heat.
Mm-hmm.
And
I concur with that.
Right. Because it's not damp. That's not the right word, but it's not dry. It's not a
dry
It
heat.
won't dry out the air because you're not blowing
Hot air.
into a room. It's literally radiating out from the floor,
which is
it's more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only thing more comfortable, in my opinion, is a wood fire, because that wood heat is. I mean, there's nothing like it.
Let me tell you,
It wraps you up.
It does, and it can get hot.
Then it's not as comfortable.
No,
you got
man, it can
figure that out.
But you're right, because it kind of has its a scent and it's.
But for like heating your home, radiant heat is the way to go. And there are systems. It's not just for concrete floors. They have the systems for your framed floors, and it works really well. But you have to be careful then what you put on top of it. That's what we were talking about.
That's where we left it. And you said what?
Like a 3/4 inch, your solid wood floors, it will cause those to move so much that it's just not. And you don't want to put it on there.
Right.
Plus, you have to nail that down.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea when you have pipes running through with water.
So what kind of floor then do you recommend?
That's when you're doing an engineered floor.
A veneer? Or no?
Veneer still, the
It's
engineered
engineered.
is. You have the veneer on the engineered.
Gotcha. Sorry. I can never get
Can
it.
you do vinyl planking?
Yeah, you can do vinyl planking on it.
Just didn't know if it'd meld.
Yeah, if it melts, you have
it's pretty warm in there.
significant
your your boiler. Something's wrong with your boiler.
Yeah, if it melts, chances are your roommate has horns.
Yeah.
And it's probably heat miser. But yeah, so vinyl, but it's not. But you don't recommend solid hardwood.
Nobody
would
put it on. Like you couldn't call up Dino and say, "Hey, this is what we're doing," and he'd be like, "Yeah, we won't put that in."
Yeah, that's not,
Sorry,
not going to work.
Not going to work.
So when in our mind though, what does that look like? Is it just a bunch of PEX tubing with hot water in it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's essentially all it is.
Mm-hmm. Did they just snake it, loop it through the floor on the floor?
And is it closed? Meaning,
yes,
it's using
in a
the
boiler
same
system.
water over and over again.
It does, because you will lose some over the time. So it's hooked up to your water supply system,
Right.
but it is basically a closed system.
And we're talking about like radiant heat, which is generally water running in your floor, hot water running through your floor. And it sounds like old school, but it is not. That's like a state of the art luxury.
It's so efficient too.
It's old school brought to new school.
Yeah,
because the old radiators in homes back in the day, so they just took it off off a radiator and put it into the floor.
Yeah, it's no longer. Yeah,
so it's not really. It's not new, but it's new.
Yeah, it's innovated
and efficient.
Yes, and so. Is this before or after your water softener? Would you use softened water in that?
I guess it depends on your boiler. Like for mine, it's our boiler system is it's a Nevion, so it's the not instant, but continuous boiler system.
And you don't have to worry about scaling in that?
Well, that's why that water is softened water, because that will scale and ruin it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our boiler system comes off of, but it kind of, the way ours is set up, it almost recycles water, so it will, when it knows when it needs more.
Right, and then puts more
automatically
in the system.
refills.
Yeah. And then at some point, I guess how much water is in the system? Is it 100 gallons? Is it?
Boy, it depends on how much you've got.
Right.
Do you have to drain it at the end of a season?
Mm-mm.
No? Just curious.
Because these are all the things that run through my head. It's like, well, is that just water hanging out? Is it another opportunity for a leak?
Anytime you have
anytime you have
water,
you're going to have
opportunity.
But
that's why you don't nail in a floor.
Yeah, on that, yeah.
Right. And nowadays I'm sure there's a system where it's like it wouldn't just pump water into your house. It would probably realize that water and then
Oh yeah, they have something called like the one I'm familiar with is a water dog, and that goes on your main.
Then it just stops.
It has it knows like if something is out of whack, it will shut your system down.
I will just use this public service moment to say your washing machine should have some sort of water dog on it, because one of the likely places your house will flood will be your washing machine giving up the ghost and flooding a home. I'm only saying that because it can't be a coincidence that I've had 5 people in the past 2 years have that.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. and it's not hard.
Well, that's why oftentimes, I mean, this is completely off the subject, but oftentimes if we're putting like a laundry room on a second floor, we're doing it's getting a drain, probably a tiled area with a drain and a curb, so that's protected from
the inevitability that could break.
It happens.
It happens. And it's like, it can be catastrophic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It's just water nonstop pumping into your...
Yeah, burst pipes are the same way.
Yeah. Ooh. But, in a burst pipe... So I know we're way off topic, but we're good at that. Should you have some sort of water dog system between your main and the rest of the system for...
It basically goes on the main system, so it will shut down. It has it's right after, like, so if like we have a big bladder tank that helps because we have a well that helps with the pressure. It goes on the main before stuff starts splitting off,
right?
And it will understand, like, if water's running continuously, that doesn't, like, I don't even know.
Not the norm for the system.
Because everything in your house has a certain amount of pressure that it can let through. Your shower head, your tub filler, if it exceeds that, because a broken pipe is going to exceed that amount of water, then it will. If it exceeds that, it will shut it down.
And that was like where my mind's going. It's like, well, if you're just taking a long shower, you don't want it to shut off.
Right.
But your shower is so many PSI.
Right.
And everything in your house.
So many gallons per minute.
Right.
Have you ever seen a burst pipe?
Don't get me started.
The amount of water in a matter of minutes is mind-boggling.
It is absolutely mind-boggling.
It's devastating, and it can be devastating.
Yeah, because it's so much water.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is because I don't know how we got here, but like I never remember my dreams. I had a dream the other night. My basement flooded. It was the worst.
It was bad, and it was not even real.
Yeah, I woke up. I couldn't get back to sleep.
He woke up thinking,
and
"Oh my God, it comes up."
I had to go downstairs. I had to go down and check. Like that didn't really happen, right?
You would. I mean, I would.
Such a relief when it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, oh yes, okay, good. That did not happen. Your sump pumps, by the way, only just do the work for you. The damage is done. It only does the work of ejecting the water.
Right.
Well, I've had
the damage is already done.
I've had mine flood because my sump went bad.
Oh, that's worse. That's the worst. That's a nightmare.
I don't even have that. I don't even have a drain.
In my perfect basement, there will be a 7 sump pump backup system. Like every year, I'll just get another sump pump, and because that's what happened to me. Is the sump pump failed, and all of a sudden it was just like, what's going on?
Yeah,
because we had an ejection system, so all the water in the house left, or not all. Certain water left through the sump pumps. Certain water went through the main line. Like the bathroom went through the main line, but like the showers and stuff all went through a sump system.
Oh, that's a terrible thing.
Oh, don't get me started. This is the same. Like seriously, we're about to go on break, so I'll just tell you, my old house's pipes were all hung with duct hangers, not pipe hangers. So they sawed through random pipes.
Yeah,
but I digress. We're going to talk more about your house and its movement when we come back. This is Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling and Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential, and you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We are brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops with the showroom now open in Granger, next to C. Kramer Interiors and Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. We are talking about what's going on in your house. There's different seasons. There's different factors pressing on it, but your house gets some wear and tear from dry, damp, wind, all those things. But what's interesting is we kind of got off on the little tangent of radiant heat and how that, that's kind of neat for a lot of reasons. But I wanted to talk about like the living in your house part. Is important. That movement, your movement in the house.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the things that Joe was talked about before the break was insulating and the moisture that it can hold.
I think that might have been when we were on break.
See what happens?
Yeah.
We go on break and then we keep talking about the show. So we need to just stay on the whole time.
Oh yeah, because of what was about an old house.
Yes.
Yeah, we run into that where old houses, people will insulate their walls, but there's no vapor barrier. With the way things are made now, moisture doesn't get trapped in your wall. It's allowed to be able to move out, but moisture is kept from coming in, and so that allows your walls to breathe without the heat transfer.
Right.
But in an old house, you don't have that. And a lot of where we see it the most is some really old houses don't have a sheeting behind their wallboards, whatever it is, if it's the wood siding, and people will try to insulate. They'll pack in insulation there. Well, that insulation just all the moisture, because that's getting warmed up, and then all the moisture from the exterior, especially in the winter when cold air hits that, it creates an enormous amount of moisture, and then starts rotting your
siding
house.
It'll
rot your siding. It will rot the structure
from the inside out.
Yeah, more or less.
So you're saying it's like
same in
wood
the summer,
siding,
really.
then insulation? No.
Yeah, it's just your. That's how Chris's house was.
Is. And that explains why when I replaced some of the siding that they had put in bat insulation, it was wet.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out. I thought, well, it's summer. It's dry. It should be dry. Why is this wet? And I had no idea.
There's a ton of moisture in the air.
I did not.
And that cold air, as that hot air hits that cold air in there.
Yeah, but in my mind, it's like, okay, you've got the siding. That's that seals it from the moisture. And then why is this wet?
And it's because it's condensing.
Yeah.
And it's still there. Because I didn't take it out because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought, well, the water was just getting in through the siding.
But in fact, that's condensation.
Yeah.
And so the answer to that is sheeting and with a vapor barrier?
No. I mean, if you were to do that on your house, on your old house, if you have cellulose or bats in the wall and you have that set up, you have to get that out of there. I think the best possible answer for that would be like a closed cell foam,
the spray type stuff.
Yeah,
because I've been adding that as rather than bat, just because it's easy.
And that's because it doesn't get penetrated by the
closed cell doesn't allow air to move through.
So instead of sheathing it, you just
you're keeping it from from getting that condensation. You're still going to have a little bit, but it's going to drastically. It's going to be in a way that it can dry out.
Right. I was going to say otherwise, it just that moisture never dries out.
Right.
Just stays damp.
Because regardless of the temperature outside, the temperature in your house is typically going to be a lot different. Well, at least in 2 of our seasons.
Right.
And that's going to create that condensation.
That's really kind of interesting because modern houses have all kinds of mechanisms between you and the outside.
Yes. Yep.
And it starts
from moisture and to
right.
And that's because they learn from old houses.
Yeah. right. They learn their lesson.
And
right.
what not to do.
Right. And
unfortunately, they haven't always brought over what to do.
Really. I noticed that there's all different kinds of ways to seal a house. Now, Tyvek, the wrap, so you get like you'd have
house
your
wrap
frame.
is what you'd call,
your
over
frame,
your
sheeting, house wrap, siding.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the way it goes? And now some sheeting comes with.
Yeah, we use Zipboard a lot. And
that's called Zipboard.
It has a coating on the exterior that is now your moisture barrier.
So you don't need house
You don't
wrap.
need that wrap.
So then you have to tape all the seams, but it tends to. You're cutting a part of the process out, which saves you time.
And then what I was reading about that product is that it also, there's no, it's part of the wood, so to speak, so you don't ever get anything behind it. There's no
Right.
possibility of something creeping behind your house wrap, which doesn't happen all the time. It's just terrible when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So does that tape last forever? We don't
We'll
know
find
yet.
out.
We don't know yet.
Yeah. I mean, the zip stuff, because we use that a ton.
Everybody does.
Whenever we do windows, we're building pans out of that. And yeah.
Everybody's I've noticed that on all construction sites.
At this point, I would assume that it's very similar to Grace Ice and Water Shield, which is the best that there is out there.
Where do you use that?
That's on your roof. You have to use that typically on any part of a roof, your ice and water,
Yeah.
on any section of roof that is over conditioned, your conditioned house.
When you say conditioned, what do you mean?
Heated and cooled.
Okay.
You have to use at least one row. A lot of places, a lot of municipalities, it's 2 rows, or depending on the slope of your roof.
2 rows starting
that.
from the gutter,
From the eave. Yeah.
from the eave up, and that's another vapor barrier.
Yeah, that adheres to the sheeting. Now, there again, Zip makes a roof sheeting too, so you could do a whole house in Zip board. We typically don't, but
Right. That would be, and those boards, are they tongue and groove or something? Or are they?
no.
No, they're just regular sheeting type.
Yeah.
Do they make tongue and groove sheeting
For floors.
for flooring? Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I think more sense there. That really, when your house is built or when your renovation is being done, anything that's going to be from touching the outside, make sure it's all important. But
And things you don't know about. I mean, it's things you don't think about or know about until you deal with it, have to deal with it. It's like,
yeah, right. Then you're like, oh my goodness, there is some sort of technology. But your home's dealing with, your siding and roof work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and your floor,
and
You
your
say that all
windows.
the time. And your windows. So look, that's the thing that is going to really need the most attention as you go. Well, there you have it. Now you know how your house is reacting with all these changes. Thanks for listening. This has been Measure Twice.
Podcasts by Federated Media.